Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marchigiani. Today we're going to do a little coronavirus update. We'll look at some of the stats. I'll give some of my general reminders for overall immunity. And again, number 3, we'll calm down the hysteria. Should you be concerned? Yeah, just as much as you would the flu, maybe a little more. If you have comorbidities, if you're older, greater than 65, 70, yeah, you should definitely be more concerned. But same recommendations are going to apply, and we'll go over those again. All right, so we're going to bring up some statistics in just a minute. We'll break it down. What we're starting to see is, I think it's with China, we're definitely seeing that bell curve. It's about a 2-month from start to finish with the bell curve. We'll break that down. You're starting to see that other side of the bell curve flatten out. So people were concerned this would be maybe a 7 or 8 month ordeal with SARS in the past, which was a coronavirus. I think that was 2004, about 10, 15 years ago. That lasted a lot longer. Not as many people, not as many incidents worldwide, but it lasted about 8 months. So this bell curve seems to be compressed to about a 2-month window. We're about 2 to 3 weeks in right now, and I'll show you how that looks. Again, general recommendations are going to be the same. Wash your hands. Social distancing still applies. All those good things. Again, I recommend nutrients to upregulate your immune system. Vitamin C to bowel tolerance is excellent. Make sure your vitamin D is calibrated up high. If you haven't gotten it tested, maybe not the best time to do it, but I would probably go up to 20,000 IUs per day, at least for the next 2 to 4 weeks, just to get that vitamin D up there to keep your immune system strong. Again, like we mentioned, social distancing, washing your hands, general hygiene things. Masks aren't necessary unless you're sick or you're working in a hospital setting. All that stuff goes. And remember, stress and hysteria secretes cortisol. Cortisol is going to suppress your immune system, all right? And that's going to make you more susceptible to, I'm actually more concerned about getting the regular flu than I am the coronavirus right now. But in general, these are best practices all the time. Keep that in the back of your head. High amounts of cortisol, high amounts of hysteria will suppress the immune system. Keep that in the back of your head. All right, so let's go look at some statistics and see what's actually happening here today. Okay, let me get my screen up here for y'all so you can see what I see. All right, I'm going to make this big here so you guys can see it a little better. All right, cool. So off the bat here, you're going to see statistics. So United States, right, we had another 40 people pass away in the last 24 hours. So we're coming up to the top of that bell curve. We're about 2 weeks away, I think, maybe 2.5 weeks away from the crescendo, the top highest amount of incident daily death rate. So we're coming up there. China is already flatlined. We'll go over that. They're at 3,200 total deaths. They only added 13 today. Relatively speaking, it's one of the shortest, or let's say the lowest amount of mortality in a day in a while. So that's actually really good. Italy's almost there. They're going to probably be at the top of the bell curve in a week. Italy got hit really hard. Why did Italy get hit? Two or three major reasons. Number one, they have the highest amount of Chinese residents, legal residents, out of any place in Europe. Number two, a lot of elderly people live in the homes of other parents and kids. So there's more exposure to other people that may not ever get sick. And then number three, Europe waited to the last minute to close down the border. So those, I think, the big three things, my big theories of why Italy got hit the hardest. And of course, the U.S. is at 102, was in that low 60s yesterday. So, that hopefully will come down. We'll be at the top in about 2 more weeks or so, 2 to 3 more weeks. Let's keep on rolling here. All right, excellent. So here's the bell curve here off the bat. So this is let me just see here. This is actually China right here. China's in the blue. So you can see all this started the end of January with China. They maxed out mid-February. Mid-February-ish was kind of their crescendo where they hit their apex. And then you can see they're bottoming out here. So you can see we're 316. We're bottoming it out. So the whole goal of social distancing and doing all the things that we're doing now, see this curve right here, this peak? We're actually trying to drop that to flatten that peak down. The benefit of flattening that peak, it does not. This is where the largest amount of people will be sick. This is where the hospital system gets overwhelmed. So the whole goal of social distancing, washing your hands, that's going to flatten that curve just a little bit, and that's going to decrease the need and the strain on the healthcare system. So I think that's a good thing. So you can see here's China right here. And they're flatlining now. And look, you got Italy here where it started. They're about a month behind. Okay, Italy's about a month behind China. And so you can see we're about 2 to 3 weeks behind Italy. So here's Italy here. They're right at their apex. Boom, big pop there. We already went over the big 3 reasons why Italy may be a concern, and they'll probably be at their apex in the next week. Hopefully they'll come down nicely. And then if you look at the U.S., let me go another one here. Okay, another good number here. So this is China. So you can see China again here. Here's China at their apex, and then here they are flatlining. So just I want to provide a little bit of context, because if you look at these numbers and you don't have context, things get very, very scary. So we'll go with a little bit of context here in a bit. And then if you look over here, here's South Korea. South Korea is actually flatlining too. They didn't have nearly the amount of deaths. So they're up here and they're having a little bit of a spike. They actually popped up almost equal. So South Korea is actually bottoming out as well, which is actually really nice. So the data is looking really good. Now, here's the deal. So I like to compare things because you have to look at things relative to something else. If not, big numbers, they don't have any meaning. They don't have any context, right? So off the bat, if we have 3,200 deaths in China has about 1.2 billion people, right? So you can take whatever number in China, you can divide it about 4 to kind of relatively, get the idea of what's happening in the U.S. U.S. has 327 million. Right, 327 times 4 is about 1.2 billion and change. So if you look at 3,200 people passing or so, we look at the most recent data here, right? So we're at 30 United States, yeah. China, so 30, no, China, where's China? Yep, so 3,200 mortality here. So we're looking at about 800 deaths here so far. If we look at and we project that we're going to be where China is, it'll be about 800 deaths overall. I'm going to say it'll maybe a little bit higher than that, but if we're just looking at the bell curve that China is following, 800 is more than likely going to be where they sit. And again, there's a lot of people out there talking about this, and they're talking about thousands of people passing. And I just think, I'm sorry, not thousands, hundreds of thousands, and some have even gone as far to say millions. And I think that's absolutely preposterous. And the data is not supporting that. And I think that's just creating more hysteria and is freaking people out and creating more cortisol. So if we just look at the generalized bell curve that we have from China and we project that data onto the United States, I think we're really going to be in a much better place than people even know where we're at. Now, again, I say all this stuff not to make you feel overly confident so you don't do all the good general safety tips we already talked about, but I don't want people scared, and I want people's immune system strong, and hysteria is not going to do that. It shuts down the frontal cortex. It stops that higher level of thinking and planning, which is so important. So the general things that I'm doing here right now is a high-dose vitamin C to bowel tolerance every day. What does that look like? So if you do take too much vitamin C, you are going to get loose stools. So I recommend calibrating your vitamin C up till your stools get loose. Figure out what that number is. Maybe it's 8 grams, maybe it's 10 grams, and then back off 1 to 2 grams until your stools solidify. That's your maximum titration point that you can handle of vitamin C. That's excellent. That's really, really good. Next thing is vitamin D. These are simple, easy things. Vitamin C, vitamin D are great. And if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you could still utilize higher dose vitamin C and higher dose vitamin D as well. I'm also utilizing medicinal mushrooms. Reishi is excellent. It has a history of boosting natural killer cells and also even deactivating viruses too. Again, no real data on COVID-19, but viruses and immune system in general. People are talking about, hey, there's nothing proven to go after COVID-19 or coronavirus. You don't have to worry about it because 80% of people aren't going to be solely affected that much, meaning no symptoms to mild symptoms. So we're not needing to necessarily attack the virus. We're needing to upregulate and boost our immune system so our immune system can actually be the ones dealing with it and attacking, right? We don't need the nutrient or the herb to do it. We need our immune system to do it. So we want to pump up our immune response so we can be as strong and responsive as possible. That's really important. So again, low-hanging fruit, high levels of sugar is going to be detrimental because that's going to clog the receptor site on the macrophage where vitamin C typically works. And vitamin C is really important for your Pac-Men and Pac-Women to gobble up viruses. So keep that in the back of your mind. So in general, 2-month bell curve, we're about 3 to 4 weeks in. China's done. Italy's about a couple weeks ahead of us. South Korea is done. So we have a pretty good idea of what's coming ahead based on China and South Korea's experience ahead of us. Not too bad. Some experts said millions. Others said hundreds of thousands. It seems like we're going to be probably in the area of 1 to 5,000. That's going to be my guess. I'll go on record. Do all the right things. Don't be a statistic. Again, the people that have to worry are the ones that have comorbidities and are older. So do yourself a favor, social distance, do all the things to keep your elderly folk from getting sick. All right, this is Dr. J signing off. Any questions here, feel free and chime in. This is a live Q&A session. All right, excellent. Oh, was there an echo there? Sorry, guys. I may have to re-record this. I think I just turned it off. Okay, mom 71, diabetes, COPD, asthma, pulmonary hypertension, emphysema, scary. Yep, exactly. 20,000 IUs of vitamin D. Yep, absolutely. Vitamin D at that level I would do for 2 to 4 weeks, I think is safe unless you've already been getting adequate vitamin D. More worried about bare shelves at the grocery store, I know, but that's all going to take care of itself. If the numbers don't go up, the supply chain really in the U.S. is unaffected, so those things should start to replenish in the next 1 to 2 weeks, I think. Is there a chance the virus will come back next winter or mutate? It's hard to say. I mean, it's not a typical seasonal thing. I mean, does swine flu come back? Does seasonally? Does SARS or MERS come back seasonally? So I don't think there's data that it would come back. People say, well, you can't compare the flu to coronavirus. My response is, well, number one, we don't have necessarily lifetime immunity to the flu, meaning if I got measles or chickenpox, I have lifetime immunity. Not the same way with the flu, because the flu mutates every year. So they're always having to go back to the previous year, look at what Asia had, and then try to mutate the vaccine a little bit so the strains are correct. And guess what? 80% of the time they're wrong. So just keep that in the back of your head, that the flu is not one of these things you get exposed to once and you're good. Actually, every year can be a little bit different. Everyone knows that because people have gotten the flu multiple times. People have the experience of a lot of times getting the chickenpox virus once and then you're done. One and you're done. That's pretty common. Okay, is there a chance the virus can come back? We answered that. Doing supplements, vitamin C, D, A, and zinc, but dealing with the cough. Did nasal rinse, but on a huge pain and clogged ears. What to do when the sinus infection leaks to the lungs? Well, keep rinsing out your sinuses. Use the Exfoliator and or the minerals to keep that from going to the ears or to the lungs. Keep doing that. That's going to help a lot. Excellent. I got really sick 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's a chance that you may have gotten the coronavirus 2 weeks ago. You may have even just gotten another virus, right? Cochrane database 5 years ago did a study looking at flu-like symptoms. 87% of the time someone actually complained of the flu, it actually wasn't the flu, it was something else. Could have been rhinovirus, could have been adenovirus, could have been another paramyxovirus, very possible. Do you think 5G has something to do with it? I mean, I've read a lot of things on, different conspiracy kind of sites, I'll dabble here or there. Hard to say. I don't think there's a lot of evidence. Is it possible? Yeah. I mean, is it possible that maybe it has an effect on the immune system? Very possible. I think the Wuhan virus that came from the Wuhan market, just how that market was with a lot of open animals in tight quarters together, it made sense that this virus, I think, jumped from a bat to another animal is probably how it happened, I'm thinking. And just those type of living quarters for animals is not healthy. I think that's how that virus all started to get going. And it started, I think, in early December, and it was first picked up actually on Christmas Day. What do you do if you're breastfeeding? Well, my wife's breastfeeding. So my wife is on higher dose vitamin D and vitamin C to bowel tolerance. So she's on top of that. So that's how we're handling it. And we may throw in a little bit of reishi medicinal mushroom, but she's breastfeeding. Ask your doctor if that's right for you. For my wife, it's fine because I'm her doctor. So medicinal mushroom like reishi is excellent. And we always throw in a little bit of extra vitamin A from cod liver oil too. Hey, thanks, Robert. Really appreciate it. But I want people to be educated. I don't want people to be, hoodwinked, so to speak. We want to have real data. We want to know where it's at. I trust everyone's mature enough to deal with the statistics as what they are, so you can make a truly informed decision. I have COPD and emphysema, and I've had backache in my ears, stopped up, sore throat, very bad headache. What to do? So yeah, I would be flushing out your sinuses. Personally, I'd be flushing out your sinuses. I'd be doing ginger tea, and you may want to look at, if you can, doing some nebulized glutathione. I've done a couple of videos on that. That's going to help calm down the inflammation. And if it's continuing to progress, I'd call your doctor. You may need antibiotics, especially if you're starting up with pneumonia. So you got to be very careful with that. but the sinus nasal rinse went into my ear and was very painful, and now have terrible pressure and water in my ear. Well, it depends how you did it, right? So if you're doing the neti pot and you're turning sideways and putting it in your nose, yeah, so what starts to happen when you turn sideways, you start making a downward slope from your eustachian tube, from your nose to your eustachian tube. So when you do a sinus rinse, you're going to be more upright, so it should go right up one nose and right down the other. It shouldn't make its way. So make sure you're not doing the neti pot and do the nasal rinse. Go watch my video on that. I do a nice actual demonstration for y'all too. What's a good immune complex supplement that you recommend? Well, I mean, I have my own. It's all sold out. I talked to the manufacturer. I put a whole bunch of orders in, but it's just like, man, they are so back ordered. So, my immuno product is going to be the best one that I recommend. Let me go pull it up. I mean, that's going to have echinacea in it, andrographis, astragalus. It's going to have some medicinal mushrooms. It's going to have some reishi in there. That's going to be probably the best one. There's a couple out there in the market, but look for astragalus, look for andrographis, look for whole echinacea root, look for medicinal mushrooms, look for monolaurin. I mentioned astragalus, and I mentioned monolaurin. I think that's it. So those would be some good ones. You can also look at elderberry too. So from an ingredient standpoint. All right, hope that helps a lot. Mine's Immuno Boost. Immuno Boost is mine. I can't see the charts you have posted. Can you post the link? Yeah, I pulled that one off the screen. So the link's right here. There it is. I found this really awesome guy on Instagram that posts all these awesome articles. And let me give him a little props. What's his name? What's that dude's name? Yeah, his name is... This guy's like legit. Bevan. Zorinaq. Zorinaq. He's all these like live graphs, the whole thing. So I've been just following this guy and just sucking up his intel. Very helpful. All right, cool. Any other questions, guys? Feel free to let me know. I'll repost this again with better sound tomorrow morning so you guys have access to it. Higher quality audio. Didn't do the neti pot, did the nasal rinse like you did in the video, and the water pressure in my ears really hurts. Well, I mean, I would just have your tongue on the roof of your mouth so you kind of create a little bit of like restriction, and then the water should go right up and right down the nose. So you should do it exactly like I'm doing it. If there's pressure, that's fine. You may just have to clean things out, all that mucus and snot and stuff, but you should see the water go right up and then right down. If it's going right up and right down, it shouldn't be going in your ears. Like when you swallow, where that tongue hits on your palate, keep your tongue right there and kind of contract it a little bit, and that kind of, my feeling, it kind of closes off the eustachian tubes a little bit and allows it to go right down the nose. That should be helpful for you. We had over 60,000 in 2018. Where was hysteria? Exactly. I mean, we had 60,000 in 2018. I went over why the statistics are off, why they're incorrect. The main reason why is we do not have enough data points. We don't know how many people have gotten the coronavirus. You're going to find out that 80 to 90% of the people who have the coronavirus aren't even in the incident report yet. And then once you do that, that increases the incidence, which drops the mortality. That simple. Any other questions, y'all? Let me know. I'll get this thing re-recorded for you guys so you have a better quality version of it. Anything else? All right. Excellent, guys. Oh, could you tell us more about the cytokine storm with the virus? So, yeah, I mean, a lot of the initial symptoms with the virus is going to be your immune response. So how this virus works is you get this virus. Most viruses they have glycoprotein spikes that stick onto the cell, and they use this ACE, this angiotensin converting enzyme, and they use it to penetrate the cell, and they drip out RNA from the center of the virus into the cell, and that RNA replicates, and then the body sees that RNA as an invader. As it replicates, it creates all these cytokines and interleukins, and then that's what initiates your immune response, is all these cytokines, interleukins, and that's what creates a lot of symptoms, is not necessarily the virus off the bat. It's a lot of times your immune response to the virus, which can create a lot of things off the bat. So a lot of people, guess what? That virus comes in, it hits you, it's going to just bounce off your cell and go nowhere, right? The better your health, the better your cell membranes are through healthy levels of vitamin A and good vitamin D and a good immune response, that virus is going to just bounce off you, right? So think about it. We want it so that virus can't even penetrate your cells. Hope that makes sense. All right, guys, it was great chatting with y'all. You guys have a phenomenal day. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye.